Can I sign green or not?
Okay, 6:10. I'd like to call this special meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Be seated.
Trustee Downey.
Here.
Really? Trustee Sprague. Here. Trustee Bushner.
Present and ready to work?
Trustee Bryan.
Here.
Here he is.
Trustee Patton.
Here.
Trustee O'Malley. Here.
No, he's not here. Don't do that.
Who's
Cheaper.
getting smacked?
Right here.
Yeah, no,
Also-
Trustee O'Malley cannot make it this
Also
evening.
present is Attorney Gilchrist.
That's a good one.
Thank
Sounds
you guys
just like him.
for getting here for this special meeting that all of a sudden threw a couple things at us that needed to be done before the end of the calendar year, or the month, either one. We're going to start with the consideration of the bond resolution. Andy, do you want to give us a sort of a general summary on how this fits in with what we're working on?
Sure.
Thank you.
What's in front of you tonight is the bond resolution. As the board will recall, earlier in the year, there was prior authorization to finance expenses, PFOA-related expenses. The board did authorize the issuance of financing for a short-term period, which is allowable under the local finance law, but that short-term period was sought to be extended through state legislation. So what's called a home rule law was proposed. Assemblyman McLaughlin, Senator Marchione sponsored that. That was signed into law by the governor over the summer. What that legislation allows is to take your short-term financing and extend that into longer-term financing. What's in front of you tonight is the resolution authorizing converting the short-term into longer-term financing.
All right, thank you very much. Do I need to read this glorious document out loud in completion? I can do that.
I would not suggest that you do that. That's not necessary. What we should.
How many pages?
This one's only
Too many.
Yeah. 3. Let me read the top portion first. Bond resolution dated December 22nd, 2017. A resolution authorizing the issuance of serial bonds of the Village of Hoosick Falls, Rensselaer County, New York, in an aggregate principal amount not to exceed $200,000, pursuant to the local finance law and Chapter 245 of the Laws of New York, 2017, to finance the reimbursement of the village for certain extraordinary expenses incurred and revenue losses suffered as a result of the contamination of the village's municipal water supply by PFOA, and delegating the power to issue bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the sale of such bonds to the village treasurer. Okay. So the timeliness is necessitated by the fact that the legislation gave us until the end of 2017 to have this taken care of. Without it being taken care of, it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that since we currently have the 1-year ban, without this legislation, this resolution going through, when that ban was over, all of a sudden it would all be owed back.
That's correct, and that's the benefit of the state legislation allowing you to extend that. And the mayor's correct that under the state legislation, 2 things needed to occur by December 31 of this year. The expenses to be financed needed to be certified by the state comptroller's office. That's been ongoing, and that will be completed. And the actual financing needs to be completed by December 31. This resolution tonight authorizes the completion of that financing next week.
And assuming this goes through and the time comes when the ban is due, we get a normal 10-year bond, which means, and that will be approximately the middle of this coming year, 2018. The first payment of said bond would not be due until approximately the same time of 2019.
I will tell you that is my understanding. I
Right.
defer to your bond counsel, but that
Right.
is my understanding.
Okay. All right. Okay. At this point, I guess I would open up. Do you guys have any questions or any discussion on this point, or on this situation? All right. I will take that as a no.
Based on that explanation.
Yeah,
From me.
it's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty clear. Okay. In that case, I would like to put this up for a roll call vote.
Motion.
I'm looking for a motion to put up for a roll call vote.
Second.
Motion by Bobby, second by Ben. Any further discussion?
Let's point out too that it's important to mention we are at a point where we've tried a lot of options and this is it.
Yeah.
We have to do this or else we are out of a lot of options at this point to take care of this at this moment.
This gives us time.
Yeah.
Without
this
it,
is buying some
affects our
time.
cash flow.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It without it, we're in not as good of a position.
Correct. I just want to make sure that's
Yep. Yep.
stated.
Certainly. Question? Yes.
Good question. All right, then this is to pay for
Okay.
what? We've got a bond here, a
Mhm.
short-term bond was taken out, and now we're expanding this bond, and first payment, from what I'm understanding to what was said here, won't be due into 2019. Now, what expenses are you paying for with this bond?
That's a good question. We have there's a list of expenses related to the whole situation. We initially had the $220,000 from EFC. That money will only be paid back subject to an agreement with the companies, which obviously there's nothing at this point. This is an additional $200,000 on top of that, so that the maximum total I'm looking at is $420,000. Combine the $220 from EFC and this $200,000 as a maximum amount. In terms of the specifics of the bills, there's a lot of little things within. Oh my goodness. Cost of testing, cost of postage, the engineering costs through MRB.
EFC is what, then is that the lawyer
Environmental-
situation?
Yeah, it's a state agency. They're the ones who gave us the $220,000, and basically it was, here's the money. If you get a settlement, we can take it back. Otherwise, if you don't get a settlement, we're never gonna ask for it back. That was the $220. And that was another one of those like quick injections of,
What's that?
you need cash flow. We identify that. This is what we're doing for that.
Here on, does this involve Fitzgerald Morris at all?
Those bills are currently in dispute, so this does
Okay.
not involve any
I
of
wanted to
those.
clarify that, so it's not FM. Okay, it's not Fitzgerald
Yeah.
Morris.
The question was, does this involve any of the bills from Fitzgerald Morris Baker Firth, the previous environmental counsel? And the answer was no, this does not involve any of those bills. Those bills are currently in dispute.
So what bills does this involve?
This is the engineering. I'm trying to think
Right
through
here,
all
Rob.
of them.
That's right here. And that's the list of,
Okay.
that's what's
I'll
Denise,
quickly
what Denise sent.
quickly summarize. There's the engineering costs. There's a bunch of different testing costs. It looks like some of the advertising costs, cost to get letters out. Thank you. I can read this a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Costs related to flushing the hydrants.
Draining the down pool, all that is included in there as well.
Replacing the hydrants, paper and envelopes.
Mailings.
Electric bills, heat bills, all specific to the GAC building. Yep, there's main care fuel oil.
Place the fire hydrants is on there.
Yeah. So there's a lot of little costs that added up really quickly. When we got the EFC payment of $220, that allowed us to immediately pay some things,
Right,
but
so
this
it
is
makes
just giving us the time to pay those things back. Yeah.
Is there a list available on the website or elsewhere that people could look up if they have questions about the cost?
We don't have a list available immediately. I'd have to speak with Andy and with Garrett, our bond counsel, and Denise, because there's been so many iterations of what we tried to get covered in this versus what could be covered in this based specifically on the wording of the legislation that went through. In fact, the reason we're here tonight is because the legislation required the due date being the end of the year. instead of something, you know, later, which would give us a bit more time. So I could look into seeing if that is able to be put together and provided. I don't know with the work that's going on right now, getting the water bills out, and the few days we have of next week. I don't know if it would be before the new year, but we could certainly look into that.
I've been approached by quite a few people who asked about
Mhm.
that, and
No, understood.
Probably
Understood.
not.
It's a concern. Yeah.
And note that the amounts, the resolution is worded so that it's clear that there was the $220,000 EFC grant. This would allow an additional $200,000 in financing, or the amount that is certified by the state controller, whichever is less. So the amount that's gonna be subject to this financing is being reviewed by the state controller's office,
Right.
audited.
Right.
And we will ultimately have a letter certifying these costs from the state controller next week.
Yeah. And Denise has done an incredible amount of work on this project with Andy, with Garrett, with what was the title of the individual from the comptroller's office?
Oh, Kevin Rowlands was the field auditor.
Field auditor, thank you.
The council's office.
I mean, we're talking about days and days of work on this, along with all the other stuff. So she has done a Herculean effort to keep us on top of this and make sure this is going through.
Can I ask another question?
Yeah.
I get the whole idea of the floating bond, and it buys us time and it gives us a cash flow.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when time runs out? And and there's money dried up, and we've spent the money as a village, and the company is still making billions of dollars of profit, and we're left holding it.
So you're saying when we get to the middle of 2019 and the first payment comes, then if there's no agreement or nothing that has come from the companies by then, we will make our first payments, and that sort of thing, just like all of these payments, will be kept track of, so that when there comes a time to get some form of agreement worked out, we make sure this is all listed on there.
And that comes back to me and my taxes as a homeowner.
I don't think we're going to issue
Yes.
a refund.
Well, I mean, it would come back to the fact that the
The bond
the
payment.
homeowners will pay for it ultimately.
the,
We're still
the
paying
village
for the
taxes
pool, yeah.
supply the
Until we
budget
approve
of
it.
Initially,
Yes.
right,
Yes.
initially.
Yes.
And the goal is, I mean, the ultimate goal would be to settle prior
Before that,
to the
right.
first payment, but we don't know if that's gonna happen. But
Right.
unfortunately, we have to act now. We're
Right.
under a time constraint, but,
And is
so.
this company sitting on the fence as far as offering a solution to the mess they created, or are they actually helping us to find a solution?
just because of the attorneys involved in discussions. There's not a lot I can
You
say
can't
on that.
answer? Okay.
I just want to make it abundantly clear that we are working our tail off to try to get anything in any form so that we can bring it to the people for a decision, or to the board, and bring it to the people so they can review, and then to the board for the decision.
Mhm.
Yeah. So this is just I guess one step or one layer in the very complicated all of the things that are going on right now.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any further questions? Discussion?
Just saying, to be clear, when this goes into repayment, it is not attached to the water bill. It's part of the village budget.
Mhm.
It's a separate
Right.
thing. So
Yeah.
I've seen that.
But it's still gonna make my.
We have-
Ultimately, taxes were paid for.
We hope not.
We hope not.
Yeah.
No, but that's what we're shooting for.
We all
It's
hope
not.
not, believe me.
It could have an effect
all
in a
of us.
future
Yes.
fiscal budget,
Mhm.
which would either cause have need to have more funds through taxes, or cause us to cut something in the immediate to keep the taxes where they are. That's the same concern that we have and have had is pursuing all this. Yeah.
The fact is, we have bills to pay
Yeah.
that we need to
Right.
pay, and we need to do whatever we can to do that. And down the road, do what we can to recover that and make the village whole. But in
Yep.
the meantime, we have a lot of things we have to take care of.
Right, we
Yep.
still have to operate the village
Yes.
just like
Right.
prior to all this.
Yes. So we can go back to whatever normal is. in
Arguing
Hoosick.
about chickens and fences.
Yes, let's
there
go
we
back to chickens.
Yeah.
Speaking of chickens.
Hold on.
no.
Hold
I
on.
got that resolved.
Okay, so
Resolved.
I guess at this point, I'm looking for a motion. Do I have to
We
do a
already-
motion for vote?
We already have a.
We already have a motion, we
Okay.
have a second.
It's a roll
We just need
call.
to-
All right.
roll call.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
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 Bobby?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna say yes to you on the record. All right. Thank you. So that motion has passed. Two other businesses, two other items of business, sorry, all related to the timing. Let's start with the, oh no, there's three other, because we don't have the compressor purchase, emergency compressor purchase on this agenda.
She never mentioned it. Oh, we talked
I
about
can bring
it.
up the quote.
Is it one or two?
It's one compressor for 12,000. I'll bring that up. Let's do me a favor, Bobby. Can you read this letter? This is the request from Hoosick Township Historical Society and Lewis Miller Museum.
Okay. Dear Mayor Allen, Village Board, the Hoosick Township Historical Society and Lewis Miller Museum play a very important part in the life and legacy of the village of Hoosick Falls, as well as the township of Hoosick. We are devoted to preserving the history of Hoosick Falls. We run programs to educate people on our history, and we encourage people to take pride in our history and our community. Our research library has been helpful to many, including you, the village. Each year, the village has shown its support to the Historical Society for all the work we do to keep the records and history of our village. I'm writing to request that this donation be made again in this 2017 year. We have made many improvements to the museum to encourage people to visit and spend time in the village. We hope that you can continue to support us to the extent that you have in the past. Sincerely, Joyce Brewer, Director.
Thank you. So it looks like they're asking us to make the donation that we normally would make a little bit
And
earlier.
what is that?
Because our year is June, May,
Right.
and then June, December,
Mm-hmm.
January, May, excuse me. We probably already paid her the first part of the year.
I got you.
Now we're in another fiscal year.
But what is that dollar amount? Do we know?
I don't know.
It would already have been budgeted for previously.
Oh, it's
All right,
budgeted,
right,
yeah.
Okay.
So, if it's already been paid
The first half, we should
in the
just be paying
first
the
half
second.
of, not our year,
Right.
we're in our
Right,
year
right.
now, you approved that payment.
Okay. I do have the information on that. Okay, so I guess I'm looking for a motion to make that budgeted
Yep,
contribution prior to the end of the 2017
Based
year.
on the numbers from the budget.
Yeah.
Based on
Yes.
the numbers from the-
I'll
Ben,
make that motion.
Did you make the? Oh, Bobby made the motion, and Karen second. Any further discussion?
I'd say if you haven't been to the museum lately, Joyce has done an incredible job rearranging it, and it's just such a different place when you go in there. And if you haven't been up, definitely go up. Yeah, there's everything, all the displays moved around. She got a great tree up there, and also just to say, it's really nice. She did a great job.
Nice. All right. All right, and I guess we're ready to vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. The next thing on the agenda is related to the wastewater treatment plant effluent disinfection study. I'm just going to read a portion of this from the letter we received on the 13th. We are pleased to inform you that the Village of Hoosick Falls project has been selected to receive up to $30,000 for the engineering planning grant through the New York Clean Water State Revolving Fund program. So this is another one of those engineering studies to get to the bigger grant and so on and so forth. The one paragraph of note is that we are ready to begin working on this project, but before proceeding, we would like to confirm that you are interested in using this funding for your project. Within 2 weeks of the date of this letter, please send your confirmation or declination. Is that how you declination? I don't know. And the name and contact information of the municipality's authored project representatives to EFC. Who would be the representative? That would be me. I think it would be the mayor. Yeah, that should be me. So I guess I'm looking for a motion to authorize confirmation for this project to EFC.
Second.
Brian and Ben was second. Any further discussion? This is a good thing that we've been working on, so I don't see any problem with it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. All right, if it's okay with the board, I'd like to bring one other thing up on the agenda, which I failed to put on the agenda, and this is specific to some parts at the water treatment plant that are in the filtration system prior to the GAC system. This has nothing to do with that. There are two compressors. One is not working, and the other one they're concerned about, so they need to get this as soon as possible. This is basically an emergency situation to make sure everything continues to work as set. The initial quote, as we discussed in the last meeting, was I think $13,200, but they did come down to $12,025 for the 2 compressors to be redone one at a time. Obviously, fix the one that's toast now, and then fix the other one after that. So I have it's from the Atlas Copco Compressors LLC. It's one of those things that you can't just go to Home Depot and pick up. You have to get it from a particular person. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the emergency purchase of these items for the 2 compressors at the water treatment plants. Ben, second Brian. Any further discussion or questions?
Well, we need him.
We need them. It's
Jim explained
pretty
it
key.
yesterday.
Yeah.
I talked to Jim too.
Yeah.
What did he, Bobby, what was he, I know at the last meeting he brought it up a little bit, but they have to be done.
No,
is the
it's
sense I
we're
get.
in dire straits. If
Yes.
one goes down, we're dead.
Yeah.
We're dead in the water. So
That's
yes.
bad.
No pun intended.
No
But I'm
pun
bummed.
intended.
All right. Keeping it light here. Thanks, guys. Thanks. That makes me feel all right. All right. Any further discussion, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. I don't have any other items of business. So with that, my apologies for having to bring you guys out here on a Friday night in a snowstorm right before the holidays. Have a happy holidays, and I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Ben, second. I'll give that to Bob down
Hands
there.
down here.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting is over at 6:32. Thank you all.
What do we owe you?